finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo, no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Hindmarsh.
Welcome back again to another Doc Tales with Cocktails morning hour version of BS Free MD podcast with Tim and May Hindmarsh. What's in your cup this morning, Tim? I hope you're not starting the day off with...
I have my Louder with Crowder, so I'm actually repping another show. I have my combination of amazing Stumptown coffee with... What is it? What's in it? It's then collagen protein and Laird superfood functional mushroom blend. So I'm going to be sharp as a tack. I'll be sharper than Biden. Guaranteed.
You could have just went for Folgers to do that.
Yes. Or a cup
even a cup of warm water.
Or a cup of Valium, and I'd be sharper than Biden. It's not that hard.
Well, this week, if you haven't all been tuning into the Olympics on a regular basis, what have you been doing? Of course, Tim and I are always obsessed with Olympics when it comes around, winter and summer both. And as Tim likes to say, it's that time of year when you watch all these sports that you don't give two shits about until they come into the Olympics.
I got to spend the next 3.5 hours watching archery and air rifle.
Yeah. And how about that ping pong?
The ping pong, they should call it ping pong. You know, the table tennis. That is the most ridiculous thing I
call it
seen.
ping pong. It's
got they hold the ball like 1 millimeter off there, and then they smack it, and then it's just like it's like kids at summer camp on meth. That's what it is.
No, it reminds me of that thing what was that toy back from the 60s, 70s? The paddle with the string that had the rubber ball attached, and you had to just keep hitting it over and over. I mean, it was just kind of that activity. Those people within the table tennis have very fast reflexes, let me just say. I'd love to be able to measure that.
You sit there and you go, let me see. I have this ability to do this hand-eye coordination sport that's super complex. I could spend all of the time it takes to be a world-class ping pong player, and I could put it into golf. And if I finish 150th on the PGA Tour, I still make $1 million a year. Or I could take all of that effort and play ping pong. Like somebody didn't give them the financial counseling.
Hey, it's what's in your heart that
right.
You have to follow.
But in my heart,
money's in the purse.
My heart belongs to ping pong.
Yeah,
or
right.
Air rifle, or my personal favorite, modern pentathlon, which is horse riding, running, archery, shooting, and I don't know, something, javelin, I think. It's all these.
I don't know.
They're all these ancient warrior
the vibe of the Olympic spirit to me.
Yeah, I kind of like
compared to table tennis.
Did you know we had a very famous World War II general that went to the Olympics? I think he won bronze or something in modern pentathlon.
I'm sure we've had a lot of famous people that have come from the Olympics.
S. Patton.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just pulled that little tidbit out of your
fund
of knowledge.
I pulled it out of my Laird Hamilton mushroom blend.
Yeah, I need some more of that.
All right.
So we wanted to do a show today talking about the Olympics and some unique medical aspects that come along with some of the athletes and the games and the happenings. And what better way to kick that off with are we going to go right for the opening ceremony?
Yeah, we're going to go for the controversy in the opening ceremony. I love what Tommy Corrigan, another podcaster, he called it the Olympic GAYMES, games. That was like,
brilliant,
Tommy.
Brilliant.
Yes. So let's see. What's the first picture we have here? I think it's the Last Supper that everyone has lost their ever-loving shite over.
Now, I have to admit, I didn't know.
Well, you didn't see that
this was what's going on until it blew up on the internet. Because I was watching it with my back partially turned to the TV. He was doing a little work. I saw part of that, but I just saw the runway and all these queer models walking down, strutting their stuff. And I'm like, well, this is kind of lame. I'll tune back in a bit. Didn't even notice. And whenever it said it was the Last Supper, I thought, no, this isn't like a fashion show.
Well, she's actually got a halo, like they would paint
No,
on.
I went back and I see it.
And then they have a kid in there, which is really ridiculous. But here's the story. So the woman in the middle, the morbidly obese,
who kind of
Christ
to me
figure,
represents, she looks like a replica of the Statue of Liberty.
Well, if America keeps going the way it is, the Statue of Liberty will be that size. So her name, believe it or not, she is a French DJ that goes by the name, I can't believe she was born with this name, but her name is Barbara Butch.
For real?
For real.
She's not French.
And she's proud to be Jewish, queer, lesbian, and big.
How can you be queer if you know you're a lesbian? Well, let's not get into that right now.
Let's not get into that right now. She is a DJ and an LGBTQ plus icon, and she filed a complaint over online harassment, death threats, and insults. Oh, okay. And then she said, I was just trying to bring people together. That makes sense.
Okay, when she said she was trying to bring people together, does that mean she's responsible for this debacle?
Well, no, but she went along with it. So, I mean, people ask you to speak or ask you for a job. I mean, you have to.
So who came up with this Last Supper idea?
I forget the guy's name. Okay. It's out there. And he said that this was, his excuse was, I'm sorry if I insulted anybody or offended anybody. It was actually supposed to be a celebration of French gastronomy, not the Last Supper. And you're like, okay, that's the most gaslighting bullshit answer in the history of the world. And then you're bringing people together into your weird queer lifestyle, which is fine. You can do that. But if you want to bring people together, maybe having some consideration for the 2.4 or whatever it is, 3 billion Christians in the world would be kind of having some forethought compared to not pissing off or delighting the 0.05% of trans
right. Well, that's
people.
Always the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's
so
crazy.
French gastronomy. Was there any food on that?
Well, they had the blue guy was kind of like the turkey that they were going to eat or whatever. That blue guy.
Oh, there you go. The cornucopia guy or whatever.
Who started singing.
The blue. Oh, I thought it was a Smurf.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah. It's like.
All right.
So then they had the fashion show. We'll go to the next picture with the bearded lady. That was amazing right there. So it's just, and so I have a little bit of a count. I mean, yes, this is offensive and it was stupid. Okay. It was just stupid. But from my perspective, we had a lot of people on kind of our conservative Christian side just Karening out. They were just freaking out. And part of me is, I agree. Our buddy there, Brant Hansen, put out a thing. He goes, you should be, according to Jesus, you should be delighted if you're mocked for his name. And he's like, we should pray for these people and we should understand that they're broken. And part of me, I agree. And part of me is like, yes, but this is a political whatever. And we should be saying, don't do that. But the other side of it is where I come down, because I'm such a compassionate person, is I'm like, they're French people in Paris. What do you expect from French people in Paris, that a city and a country where men take a piss wherever they want? At the end of the French Revolution, these bastards were beheading nuns with guillotines. So why should we expect anything different? The fact that they didn't roll a guillotine out there and have a guy dressed up as Jesus and cut his head off should be a win. I mean, like, what do you expect? And the other side of this is, there's been debacles with these opening ceremonies for as long as there's been opening ceremonies. How about 2008 in Beijing, where they had guys underneath the stage so they could shove those flags through the bottom of the stage and wave them? And they cared so little about their well-being, they left them under there for 12 hours or 20 hours.
Put them in diapers.
And they put them in Joe Biden diapers. It's like, okay, wave the flag for, the motherland of China and enjoy shitting yourself for the next 12 hours.
How many people were speaking out in protest against
I mean,
the abuse of humanity?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Okay. What's worse? Being offended. They said it was blasphemous. And I'm like, okay, maybe it was. But the Last Supper is a painting. It's not the Bible. It's not like they took a church altar and did something to it. They were trying to be provocative and they went over the top. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't expect anything different from that country. The country that brought you the Renault Le Car. And that car had 3 lug nuts per wheel, not 4 or 5, 3. Why? Because it's French engineering.
I don't got time to change those lug nuts.
And that said, they did bring us Michelin tires. So, there's some, that's probably their best company.
Well, all right. So did you have another photo you were going to share about that whole?
Nope.
No.
That's it for the debacle. Now, I must say, and we're getting to the next part, is there was parts of that opening ceremony that I thought were freaking amazing. When they had Gojira, one of the greatest metal bands, the band I've seen, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times now, and they are French. When they had Gojira playing out of whatever that ancient building was, and people freaked out about the Marie Antoinette where her head was. I thought that was really cool and really metal. And they had Gojira's regular stage show with all of the fire, and then they played, and then they continued to play, and then they had the opera singer singing. Well, I mean, I thought that was just absolutely outstanding.
All right, so your dopamine levels were peaking.
Yeah, during Gojira.
There you go. All right, well, if we're wrapping up the opening ceremony and we're talking about the medical issues in Olympics, how can we not get to the pinnacle, the finale, which blew my mind? And I was so surprised to see Celine Dion singing at the end and standing on the Eiffel Tower. It was just so classic. Okay. So if you don't know much about Celine Dion, shame on you, but she has not been performing for, is it 2 years, 3?
Like not shows, because you can't get through an entire show.
Yeah. So she has come out, finally shared with the world that she has this rare effects, 1 in I think 1 million people. It's a condition called stiff person syndrome. And
I think I might have that as well.
I think you're very, never mind. Moving on.
I don't find it disabling though.
Do
you find it disabling?
If you watch the opening ceremony, Kelly Clarkson, who was commentating,
she was weeping.
Was so emotionally broke up over this performance that she couldn't even speak, and it took a little bit, because if you understand anything about what Celine's got, or I would recommend you watch the documentary I Am Celine, which we did, and it was amazing.
Well, in preparation for this show, because we leave no stone unturned when it comes to our audience.
Oh, that's right. They documented actually what she goes through and how her body goes through these torturous spasms and seizure-like activity. It's horrific. But she's shared that what happens, and this has been going on for years, where she's had to walk off stage in the middle of shows or announce that she's sick with a cold. But really, as this has been getting worse, it affects the body in multiple ways, very similar in some aspects to seizures, somewhat like Parkinson's symptoms as well. But you can have trouble. The big thing is trouble breathing, because the muscles of the chest are restricted and being squeezed tight. And she described it actually as feeling like someone had, their hands around her throat and were just squeezing. And her pitch of her voice is affected so that she can't hit high notes or low notes, trouble taking a deep breath. She also has significant muscle spasms from her fingers to her toes. It will affect a person's gait, their posture, and it's brought on by stress, but also noise, heat and cold extremes. And
don't move to Saskatoon.
Can you imagine when you're performing? I mean, there's noise, anyway. So this is got a multitude of horrible symptoms that come with it.
What causes it?
Well, it's basically an autoimmune disease in which your body attacks the
Like the
ability to produce or have GABA function in your body. So if it's at the level of the
so do they get super anxious if they can't make GABA?
yeah, they can also get that as well. I think it's
Wow.
the GADS receptor antibody. Here we go. GAD65 antibody. And it basically blocks GABA, which is one of the main neurotransmitters in the brain and in the neurological system. So they give them medications from muscle relaxers, such as diazepam, Valium, and other medicines that help with GABA neurotransmitter, Botox, obviously steroids. You can tell she's been on steroids by, in the documentary, her face, immunoglobulins, and other autoimmune things.
What did they say? She was up to 6 or 8 milligrams of Valium a day.
I thought they said 60 to 80. And I was like, no way. No, it was 60 to 80.
That's insane.
Right?
Was it really like?
I think so.
I tell you, she should go on carnivore.
So without going into giant detail about stiff person syndrome, what she has to go through just to function. And then they showed her trying to record. She wanted to do a recording and it wasn't going well. So when I saw her performing and looking back and I watched it again, I was in awe that she could do that. I don't know what she had to take or how she had to prepare mentally, physically, all the things, and the support staff probably just standing by for her to be able to do that epic performance. So who knows if we'll ever see her perform again?
No, I was floored. I mean, I was watching it and we were texting back and forth with my sister and I was like, wow, Celine looks really good. And they were like, Celine's out there. And I said, yeah, just wait till it's on. I mean, it was incredibly moving. It was really good. So that opening ceremony had some unbelievably terrible, just dumb, in my opinion. I get less offended and more just kind of like, really, like just dumb, stupid, whatever. And some amazing parts, like the Gojira. If you are into heavy metal, like that was absolutely great. And Celine was completely transcendent.
Yeah, that was my. I think that just defines an Olympic athlete performance right there, like a gold.
Yeah.
As Kelly Clarkson said, I think the gold medal award for performing because what she's had to overcome. So we recommend that you go watch I Am Celine just to get an understanding for her life. Her passion is just singing, and that's totally.
Well, it's a stage.
Yeah.
When you're, what is she, like the youngest of 14 kids or something, or 10 kids or 12 kids or whatever?
I think it's 14.
Yeah, 14. Yeah, you're going to be a performer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a choice. So if you thought that it was offensive and terrible, the opening ceremony, wait for this next story, because this is 1,000 million times worse in my opinion, because this is actually criminal. So let's see here. That is Dutch child rapist Steven van de Velde is booed by the crowd every time he serves as he competes in Olympic volleyball. Okay, so what is the story of this guy? So this is not a joke. This isn't like, he was 16 years old and he slept with his 14-year-old girlfriend and they were young and dumb and whatever. No, this is a guy who was legitimately a predator. Back in 2016, when he was 21 or 22 years old, he trolled this gal in the UK who was 12 years old. He knew she was 12 years old. He then flew to the UK from the Netherlands and raped her. He got charged in Britain. They threw him in jail for a year. He got extradited back to the Netherlands and he served another, I think, month. So he served 13 months for raping a child. And the Dutch come out and say he's totally rehabilitated and they let him on their national beach volleyball team. No, I'm sorry. That is way worse than the stupid whatever mockery that went on at the opening ceremonies. This guy is legitimately a pedophile.
Well,
and was convicted and he gets to compete in the Olympics. How is that possible?
So that happened in 2016, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I was just thinking, I was wondering how old he is.
Right now, he's 29.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
So he wasn't
he was an
17
adult
years
when that
old.
happened. No, I was like, was he 16?
No.
15? I mean,
No.
it'd still be rape, but I was.
Nope. And she was 12. Like I said, it wasn't like he was 16 and he had a 14-year-old girlfriend and it was kind of, those things happen or whatever. And, it's technically statutory rape or whatever. No, he
was a
pursued
21-year-old,
her.
21, 22-ish. Yeah.
He flew to the UK from the Netherlands. Like this is predatory behavior. And in my opinion, I may be wrong. I don't think you can rehabilitate actual sex predators. I don't think it happens. It's like turning your kitty cat into a vegan. It doesn't. Kitty cat dies if you feed it vegan food. I think that, and so how is this? There's no Russian team. They barred all of the Russian athletes, okay? Because the Russian athletes, the guy throwing the pointy stick in track and field is the guy that's actually out there, killing Ukrainians. No, they punished all of the Russian athletes because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. They can't compete.
Don't they get to compete individually as a non-team?
I don't think so. I haven't seen any of the non-team. There's people that switched allegiance. There was one that became French in the swimming pool. So there's no Russian team.
No, I get that. But I thought they could compete on their own and not represent the country so that.
They did that in tennis. You can double check.
Yeah.
But there's no Russian team because of the war. There's a Ukrainian team. There's no Russian team. Okay. So the entire world, the IOC has taken, sides based on a moral argument that they are morally reprehensible. But a child rapist predator gets to compete for the Netherlands should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you wonder, the country that brought you red light districts in Amsterdam and all of the,
Wow. No, apparently there are. So they banned Belarus and Russia from sending anyone or representing at the Olympics, but there are 6 Belarusian and a dozen Russian athletes competing independently on their own.
That's called Belarusian, actually. My family
not Belarus.
It's Belarus, and the people that live in Belarus are Belarusians.
Well, thanks for clarifying.
They're not just Russians; they're Belarusians.
Because I was going to get into political stuff. So that's your heritage.
Yeah.
Just like
where my grandfather was, or where my grandfather's from, we don't really know. Because where the borders were so insolvent then. Is it actually Russia? Is it Belarus? Is it Ukraine? It's I don't know.
Just pick the flavor of the day like so many other politicians do. Identify flavor with what works for you.
That's right.
Well, the Olympics... even I think they announced this at the opening games, how
shitty the water was.
Medical shittiness might ensue if they followed all of their plans, including opening up the Seine for the open water swimming as well as the triathlon events. And so they had to postpone the event for days because of very high E. coli levels in the water. And this is because if you're watching the opening ceremony, it was raining. What happens is when it starts to rain, all the wastewater
from all the French guys pissing in the streets, as I mentioned before.
Well, even worse, the sewage.
All the French poodles taking a dump and no one picking them up, right?
They're probably that too. No, it's actually sewage overflow that goes into the Seine and pollutes it with super high levels of E. coli.
Well, that makes sense, though, because these ancient cities have these ancient sewer systems and they all drained into rivers.
Yeah. So they were afraid it was going to turn the triathlon into a duathlon.
It was going to be insane in the membrane.
Yes.
Because your membranes are going to be filled with E. coli.
So there's that. And we watched the triathlon yesterday.
Very good.
So let's see how many people get sick from that with E. coli infections. Who knows? Another thing to plague the city is the rat problem. Okay, so Paris.
No, that's Ratatouille.
Paris
They're
is a
cute.
dirty city, and it's known to be overrun with rats. Well, apparently they did like this big, what's the word?
So
big
like a
cover-up cleanup job.
Like a rat genocide? Did they have a rat genocide?
Yes.
A raticide?
They did. I forget how much money they spent cleaning up the city, including not just the rats, but social cleansing. Police came in and broke up migrant camps.
Social
of
cleansing?
homeless people. They called it social cleansing. Homeless people. And what was the other word they used? People sleeping rough. I've never heard that term before. Does it mean you're just hung over in the street? Anyone let us know. Sex workers, all of them removed. They took about 13,000 people and
So what you're saying,
relocated
there
them.
was nobody in the streets.
Pretty much.
If that's what they did in Paris,
right?
There was no one in the streets. Okay, we got to get rid of the vagrant, the sex worker. Actually, that's a French Canadian accent, but it's all the French I know.
Yeah. So they did a big city cleanup. But yeah, rats are a big problem. Now, the other thing to plague the city that no one's really talking about yet is that dengue fever is threatening to, as they say, gate crash the Olympics, as well as a few other concerns. So first off,
the gay fever already has crashed the Olympics, so we get dengue fever.
Yeah. So dengue fever
is awful.
Is a big concern because it is a tropical virus that's been hitting Paris and France really hard this summer. I think, what was it? Zika virus? That was like a big threat back at the...
That was like 2015.
Rio. That was Rio in 2016. Then we had COVID in Tokyo. Now it's dengue. And apparently there is 15 million visitors to France every year. And 15 million visitors
to Paris.
To Paris, yeah. I guess they say there's 40 million. No, there's 40 million people that visit Paris every year. And with this huge influx of people now, they're coming in from all over the place. Dengue and actually measles is a problem. And right now, dengue is on the rise. It's coming from tiger mosquitoes. And these things lay their eggs in still water. And right now, I guess it spread first to Italy. Now it's in France. And they're really concerned. I think they say January 1st and April 30th of 2024, health authorities recorded over 2,000 cases.
Oh boy.
Compared to the average of just 128 cases for that same amount of time period. So this year it's gone up exponentially. And so they're worried about people.
Well, they have to spray for mosquitoes because they had so much rain. It floods the grass, and then the mosquitoes grow in the grass. And
the thing about dengue is, for a lot of people, it's just an asymptomatic infection or a mild fever, flu-like illness, but it can be fatal. People are always worried about the flu, but dengue can be.
Oh, it's really bad. You get like the back-breaking back spasms, and it's awful.
There is really no treatment other than supportive therapy, hospitalization, IV fluids, and supportive things. So that's a concern. And I guess measles is and pertussis are on the rise. And
how can they be on the rise? Everyone's vaccinated for it.
No.
Yeah, because the pertussis vaccine does basically, not much.
It says in this article that there's a history of low vaccine uptake. And
Where? In France? In Paris? In the migrants that they let across the border and
apparently
didn't check their health status?
Wherever they're measuring it in the French population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What part of the French population?
I don't know.
The French population that came from Algeria?
This is the French National Health Agency checking on their immunization. So they're monitoring those three things, surveilling them, probably worried about that more than the COVID. So we'll see what happens.
So keeping the happy, cheery all the diseases you can get while you're visiting Paris, I was thinking, has anyone ever died competing in the Olympics?
And I would hazard a guess as to say yes. And so then I had to ask if it was winter or summer. And
Okay,
this
so,
is
yeah. So it's really interesting because the safe assumption would be a whole bunch of people have died competing in the Olympics, and almost all of them would be in the Winter Olympics because the speeds are so ridiculous, right?
right. You're thinking crashes like in luge
Well,
or
yeah,
sled or the ski jump.
like that guy that got pinballed down the luge thing in
Yeah.
2010
Yeah.
in Vancouver, and they had to move where it started because it was too fast and people couldn't navigate it.
But thinking of the Summer Olympics and thinking of all the events, you could think, well, there was a shooting accident, which would be a possibility. Maybe there was a stray arrow and someone got hit by an arch. No. But what happens commonly to athletes? You're thinking pushing themselves to the limit.
Well,
So
yes, it's super. Well, it's yes.
The biggest thing and the concern this year as well is heat.
So what's fascinating to me is there has been several deaths in practice, primarily in the Winter Olympics. A coach, was skiing in, I think, Calgary and smashed into somebody, fell down and got sucked up by a.
So you're thinking just random accidents.
By a snow grooming machine.
Right. That's what I was saying.
There was like the luge accident.
Yes.
They were all in practice. There's only remarkably, because the Olympics has been going on since what? The modern Olympics started in 1896. Okay. So it's 100 and almost 128 years, almost 130 years. In that 128 years in competition, in other words, whilst competing in the event you're there for, only 2 people have died competing. And one was in 1912. He was a runner. The other was a cyclist in 1960 in Rome. And both died from heat exhaustion, which is
not dehydration, people.
Because dehydration is not going to kill you. It's going to make you stop pedaling. It won't kill you. What will kill you is heat, which I keep pounding this like all the time. If you're really hot, if it's really hot out and you're outside and you feel sick, get out of the heat. That will save your life. Don't drink more. You're not dehydrated. You're hot, and that kills people rapidly. So the thing that's interesting is the last one was 1960. I would reckon it would be with the medical, the medical people we have now in these events, it would be impossible to die of heat exhaustion because they would recognize it immediately and immediately treat you because it's easy to treat. The diagnosis is a rectal thermometer, and you're like, oh my gosh, the guy's got a temperature of 105, and then it's ice baths and fans.
But you have to get to them in time. Like we watched the men's triathlon last night, and they were just giving her on the run at the end, and it was super hot. What the humidity was 84%, and it was 32 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I mean it's like here.
You saw them get done the race. They collapse at the finish line.
Guys were puking,
throwing ice packs on them right away and water, but. It could be too late for somebody. You're not going to run out there in the middle of a race.
You would have to not recognize it, and they would be close to unconsciousness. And I mean it's possible, but you would have to fumble the ball. You'd have to fumble the ball as bad as the Secret Service did at the Trump near-death assassination. So you would almost have to bring
that up, did you?
Yeah, of course. I have a way of bringing up things to piss people off. So that's a warning. Because I'm always complaining about this. Like we're going into the season now here in Florida, football has started and it is hot as hell and it's really humid. And kids are out there doing 2-a-days. They've had the last 6 weeks or 2 months off and have done nothing. And now they're back running around in football pads. They're not going to die of dehydration. It's not possible. If you pass out running around in 92-degree weather with 80% humidity in football pads, it's because you're too damn hot and it can kill you in minutes.
Yes.
So there's the public service announcement.
But what about the other I was going to say not bystanders, but others involved. What about the horses? Did you know that
5 horses
die?
Yeah.
Think of what they're, what is it? horse jumping, equestrian, dressage.
Well, they're not going to die in dressage, but that cross country horse thing they do, that is crazy because they have to jump over like streams and hard barriers. And
yeah, like they're jumping and breaking legs is, I think, the biggest, from what I've saw, the biggest cause of death in these poor horses. Yeah, euthanized after breaking leg at different fences entering the cross country. So sad.
One poor guy won the Olympic silver medal in canoe slalom in Rio de Janeiro, and then got in a taxi and was doing some, touring of Rio and got hit in a head-on collision and killed.
Wow.
Wow. Talk about, I won the silver medal. Let's go to the bar.
Oh,
Bam.
no, wait. I actually thought about that. I remember that. I remember hearing that in the news.
Yeah. And a guy died this year.
Because there was another fiasco with the swimmers in
well, yeah, that's
Rio.
because they got in trouble. But this guy, Samoan boxing coach, just died suddenly, had a cardiac arrest. Geez, I wonder what from. But the single biggest number of fatalities ever in the history of the Olympics was, of course, 1972, when the Palestinian terrorist organization Black September killed 11 members of the Israeli team.
That's right. That was horrible.
Do you know how Israel solved that problem?
They retaliated.
They hunted down every single one of the guys and killed them.
Really?
After they had the raid on Entebbe and the screwed up there. That's a whole bit of history that is really fascinating when you look at counterterrorism and how counterterrorism started and how they did a terrible job and ended up getting a bunch of other people killed in a shootout and whatnot. And then they just said they sent the Mossad in and they're like, hunt these guys down.
Wow.
I'll have to look that up. I think they hunted them down for literally like years and years and years. It's like if you were they figured out who all of the murderers were and they murdered them back. Look that one up. Like, it's just like.
So any other medical events of note at the Olympics?
No,
nothing major other than the usual injuries, illnesses, and things to watch for. I thought, how could we not talk about the GOAT, Simone Biles, who's competing in this Olympics, doing really well, and go back and look at what happened in 2000.
That was not anxiety.
And I know there's all this talk about pressure on athletes and mental health. Wasn't it Caleb Dressler's another one who, went through some ups and downs and mental health struggles and pressure on these athletes. And yeah, we have a different theory on what happened to Simone.
She got anxious, but she completely, she was so good for so long. I mean, she started winning in 2016. So then it's 2021. So that she's been in all these competitions. She's won 30 gold medals in world championships or some. It's like completely insane. And then she all of a sudden, in her second Olympics, she all of a sudden has this collapse. In the Olympics, in the middle of COVID, where you have to be vaccinated. I mean, I agree. We were out with Del Bigtree this last week, and I think she was vaccinated. I think it makes the most sense. It can make you anxious, and she got this, whatever they call it, the tilties or the spinnies or whatever, where she had a neurological problem where she couldn't find her head in space, which would be terrifying because you could die doing the stuff that they do,
right?
If you don't know where your head is in space. So
I think they call that the twisties.
The twisties.
Not the tilties. Not the tilties. That's when you're on the tilt-a-whirl. At the
twisties.
fair,
yeah.
You get the tilties.
The tilties. The twisties.
As you're strapped in by a carny.
Yes.
Who
because
hasn't taken a bath in a week.
Right. You know that
and has no teeth.
Nothing is going to be safer than a mechanical device that's on the back of a 37-year-old trailer and tractor driven across the country and put together by a toothless meth addict. What could possibly go wrong?
A big medical event is about to
Did I tell you I delivered a carny?
Yes, you told me.
So
how can you not remember that?
They showed up at the hospital and they're like, I'm just going to deliver my wife in the parking lot. And if there's a problem, I'm going to wheel her in. And we're like, no, you're going to leave the premises or you're going to wheel her in and we'll take care of it. So I delivered this Carney's girlfriend or wife or whatever. And the whole time we're just chit-chatting, right? And he's like, I said, okay, come on, tell me, what's the worst accident you've ever seen? He goes, the zipper, which is that spinning, it spins in like 3 or 4 different axes. And the only thing that holds you in is the door is closed with a cotter pin. And that's it. Like it snaps shut and cotter pin, right? He goes, door opened on the zipper. So it's like, goes flying out of this thing. And I'm like, wow. And then he tells me.
What happened to that person? Did he tell you?
I can't remember. And then he told me, but you know what? Anytime we're in town, you hook me up and I'll get you free rides. And I was like,
yeah, that's right. You're thinking, it's a hard pass, but I'll pass those tickets along to my nemesis in the hospital system.
Yeah, no,
he can take his family for a ride.
All right. Well, I think we've pounded the Olympics to death. And
you weren't. I thought you were going to share about the Ozempic moment.
I forgot.
That's why I was.
We have one last thing.
I know. That's why I was asking you if you had anything more to talk about with the opening ceremony.
One last,
because I did.
As always.
Is it the meme of the week?
Meme of the week. Here we go. Meme of the week.
And what could this possibly be?
Keeping with our theme. That is a great bumper.
That's a great bumper.
All right. What's meme of the week? There it is. Yes, we have it. Back to Barbara Butch, the Ozempic Games.
She's wrapping things up with that double stacked patty burger, the Ozempic Games.
The Ozempic Games. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if it was supposed to be French gastronomy and an ode to French cuisine, what better way than to have Barbara with that big burger ready to chow down on that.
To get some...
topped off with a little Ozempic sprinkles.
Yeah, Ozempic. Yeah.
That's
GLP-1, baby.
That's fat shaming right there.
Yeah, I think she's kind of proud of it, and I don't know that you can shame somebody that's proud of what you're trying to shame them of. It's like rich shaming Elon Musk. Oh, you're so rich. It's like, yeah. So
yeah, good point.
So but I do wonder. It makes me wonder when these people get so over the top, and it's just so gratuitous in your face. Like the person we saw in the Charlotte airport that had bright, rainbow colored hair, and just this, like it's all
the tight pink bodysuit.
Yeah, and the attention grabbing. Like, to me, that says you don't like yourself. Like when you have to go so over the top to be controversial or attention grabbing, that's kind of.
I disagree.
Like you're not comfortable.
I disagree.
You're not comfortable in
No. Oh no, I think it's the opposite. I think it's that they love themselves so much. They're so comfortable that they feel like they have to go over the top and share with the whole world about how great they feel about their body, no matter size.
No, I disagree.
And put on a show. No, I think that.
I mean, I think there's some of that. But it's the same as these bodybuilders. Like if you've ever taken a bodybuilding magazine and looked at it, and start looking at the advertising, because obviously the advertisers are the ones that are going to tell you the truth about the audience that they're advertising to. They're not going to tell you the truth about their product, but they have to intimately understand the audience that they're advertising to. And it's all insecurity. Like 100% of it is insecurity. It's a million ads for how you can gain even more mass when you're already, 5'8", 300 pounds with 5% body fat.
Yeah, what could be about striving for the next level, and they could be very proud of themselves, but there's always that next level to achieve, and they're showing off.
But it's the same. It's different sides of the same coin, which is, the bodybuilding community, the super over the top anything community, whether it's gay, straight, or whatever. It's this insecurity that it's just never enough, and the final theme is it's totally focused on self.
Yes.
Like especially if you are into that level of bodybuilding, you are so focused. Everything you do is focused on yourself. The million eggs you have to eat, the 25 chicken breasts a day, like every single thing. And I'm like I get it. I get it for a little while. I get it. I mean, any sport. I love what Joe Rogan says about fighters. The idea is that they peak at their fitness right when they fight, and then they have to take time off because otherwise they're at the point where they're either going to completely break their body down or they're at the peak of fitness and they can fight. Like that's the razor's edge. But you have to take this time off. And it's just, I don't know, the self-absorption I find nauseating.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody's got a hobby, and some people take it too extreme.
Yeah.
And when it becomes self-absorbing and self-centered, time to move on.
Move on to the next hobby, macrame. I'm going to macrame the Olympic
string art. I prefer the string art myself.
All right. Well, people don't even know what macrame is because they didn't grow up in the 70s.
Some people grew up in the 70s.
We did get our meme of the week, so I think we have kicked this show to death.
Yeah, I can't wait for next week's because there'll be plenty more Olympics to come and maybe some more exciting news to share. Until then, we hope that you are staying tuned to our regular shows on Thursdays with guests. Check out this week's or last week's episode with Dr. Harvey Risch. This one, we have another surprise coming up for you. And as always, we like your comments, feedback, and please rate us with a 5-star review on your favorite.
She said rate. Don't be a Netherlands, a Dutch, volleyball player. Rate
there you
us.
Go. Yes, rate us. 5-star review really does help the show get to the top of the algorithm in podcasts so that other people can find it if you leave a comment or feedback. So that does really help us. And I don't know, I always hate asking, but other podcasters are always, it seems like begging for, please like our show, please share, but it really does help. All right, everybody. With that, we'll let you go. And until next time, cheers and enjoy those Olympics.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
While we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible, we can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.